I want you to listen now to some information that I'm going to give you that may or may not be a story. I want you to decide if this is a story, and I want you to decide how you would create the lead to the story. Remember, the lead is the most important information related to a news story. So in that inverted pyramid style, you put the least important information closer to the bottom. The most important information is at the top. And why do we do that? Because remember, the news hole or the news well only consists of so much space on a daily basis or a weekly basis. And so if the editor has to reduce the size of your story to fit in another story, then the editor wants to slice your story, end your story, closer to the bottom than at the top. All the important information will have been included in the lead or in the first couple paragraphs of the story. So if the editor has to eliminate the bottom paragraph or the bottom 3 paragraphs of a 10-paragraph story written in inverted pyramid, I think you understand that the least important information is what's being lost. It's being sacrificed. It's not that it's not good, not that you didn't do a good job writing it, not that it's not important, but it's not the most important information. So let me give you some information that you will decide, is this a story? If it is a story, how are you going to write this story? So just some information that I'm going to take out of this particular newspaper account. In late 2014, now this is 2016, but in late 2014, a Filipina housemaid died after being mauled by a lion kept domestically at a house in Kuwait. Now, let me ask you, is that a story? Should you write a story about this? This happened in 2014. Filipina housemaid, she got mauled by a lion that somebody was keeping in their house. I want to scratch this out because I've told you that part now. So is that a story? Apply the news values to it and see if that's a story. All right, here's another piece related to this information. Keeping wild animals, especially lions and tigers, has grown in popularity in recent years in the Gulf Cooperation Council states, despite authorities warning against the practice. So do you make a story out of that, or can you make a story out of the 2 pieces of information that I've given you? That apparently it's popular to keep lions and tigers. People keep them in their house or in their backyard or in a cage, I don't know where, try to turn them into a pet. Even in Kuwait, this is happening. Maybe some of you have lions and tigers. Please, I like lions and tigers. I like you. Don't bring your lion and tiger. I think it's probably not permitted to bring a lion or a tiger to GUST, just in case you're wondering about that. Okay, so now we got 2 pieces of information. Does this make a story yet? Now, here, let me give you another piece. Lords Hinko Abuela. Lords Hinko Abuela died at a hospital in Kuwait days after she was attacked by the wild animal. Okay, that's the Filipina lady, Lourdes. That makes sense. Christian. Lourdes is a Christian name. And she was the Filipina housemaid who died after she was mauled by that lion. So she died at a hospital in Kuwait days after she was attacked. Remember, that happened in 2014 by that wild animal. So that's another piece of information. Do you have a story yet? Is there something to write about? What are you thinking about in your mind? Because something's happened here in Kuwait. Something, a consequence of death happened here. Here's another piece of information. Kuwait's parliament has called for legislation prohibiting the purchase or sale of exotic animals to private individuals. So that's Kuwait's parliament has done that. Still, wild cats and other exotic animals can be purchased through social media accounts in Kuwait. So do we have a story here? The information that I've given you, disconnected as it is, because I'm doing that on purpose to make you think a little bit. Is there a story to be written about here? Is there a news story to be written about? I hope you're saying, no, it's not a news story. It happened in 2014, the story about the Filipina. This other information, we don't even know when Kuwait's parliament called for legislation prohibiting the purchase or sale of exotic animals. Don't know when that happened. Kuwait's parliament you'd have to look that up. They didn't do it yesterday. They didn't do it this week. At least that's not what it's saying here. I'm assuming they did it some time ago. So we don't have a news story here yet. Let me give you some more information. A Kuwaiti man, proximity, died from injuries to his neck and thighs. He was attacked by a pet lioness. Kuwaiti man killed, pet lioness. Is this a news story? I won't say this correctly, but you'll know what I mean. Hafr al-Batin, Hafr al-Batin, Saudi Arabia. Now that's close to Kuwait, yeah? Maybe on the line. Maybe it's a border town or village. You know better than I know. A young Kuwaiti man died yesterday after being attacked by a pet lioness. The man was mauled by the lioness at a recreational facility in Hafr al-Batin. Interesting thing here. This happens in Kuwait all the time. This should not happen, and you should not do this. It says the date line at the very beginning of the story, where there's a date line. This is the date line. That says Hafr al-Batin, and it's spelled B-A-T-I-N. But in the story, it says that it happened in Hafr al-Batin, T-E-N. Now, which is it? Which way is the correct spelling? Near the border with Kuwait, while trying to train the lioness. What is he thinking? Who wants to train a lioness? It's not part of the story. The main trainer for the lioness had left the man to go to the shop when the attack happened. Okay, so these two guys were in a cage maybe, or in a recreational facility with a lioness, one of them being the main trainer, who probably knew more of what he was doing than maybe the Kuwaiti guy who probably owned the lioness. The trainer leaves to go maybe get a cup of coffee, comes back, and not good. The main trainer for the lioness had left the man to go to the shop when the attack happened. Neither of the men involved were immediately named. But the Kuwaiti man died from injuries to his neck and thighs. The main trainer, who called for help, killed the lioness after the attack. Do we have a story? I think we do have a story. But now, how would you put this story together? What would come first? Is the Filipina maid important to this story? No, not really. The Filipina maid story happened, and God bless her, she's dead, and this was a horrible thing, but that happened in 2014. That's background. We call that background information. So it's not the first time somebody in Kuwait was killed by an exotic animal. Lourdes, her full name, the Filipina housemaid, was killed in 2014. That's background information, but that's not lead information, is it? What's the lead in this story? And I think you know that the lead, if you're asking the who, the what, the where, the why, the when, and the how. Okay, the who, unnamed, we have an unnamed Kuwaiti man. That's the who. There's a second who, the trainer. What happened? Lioness mauled the Kuwaiti man and killed the Kuwaiti man. That's a terrible story. Can you imagine his family? And maybe he's married and maybe he has kids. Terrible story. And nobody wants to be mauled by a wild animal, right? I mean, that's a horrible way to die. So we know the who. We know what happened. We know where it happened. We don't know how to spell it exactly, but we know that it happened down there in a border town between Kuwait and Saudi Arabia. We know that it happened yesterday. So we know the who, we know the what, we know the where, we know the when. Why? Well, there's no why. I mean, unless the animal would tell us, you know, and maybe, okay, this doesn't happen, but maybe the animal got spooked. Maybe the animal got upset. Maybe the animal didn't want to be trained. Maybe the animal was having a bad day. Maybe the animal did it because she could. She decided, you know, I don't like this guy, and he's not my regular trainer, and I'm going to kill him. But we'll never know the why. So the why is exotic animals can do strange things and attack. So we know the who, what, where, why, and we don't know the why. We know the when. How? Well, the how here was he was mauled. So now I want you to think in your head how you would put this story together. And here's what I want you to do. You got an assignment, but not a difficult assignment. I want you to open a Word document and save it in the way you normally would. Your first name, your 4-digit GUST ID, put an underline between your first name, Jacob, it's not Jacob, right? Jassim, Mohammed, put an underline. Your 4-digit GUST ID, then another underline, lion. Just put lion. It's really a lioness, but put lion and I'll know. And then it's the .doc or DOCX. Open the screen at the top, put your name, put your full name at the top, and put your GUST ID. So, you know, this is the way we open every file. I'm not always going to repeat that. I'm just going to say open a Word file and send it to me to, you know, create it in the format that I've taught you. Now I want you to write the lead to the story. I've given you the details. I'm going to give them to you one more time. In this case, we know that it happened. We know that the where of the story is Hafr al-Batin, Saudi Arabia. That's what this says anyway. And it's a border town, and you may or may not want to explain that. Do you think everyone in Kuwait knows where that's located? It's a border town with Kuwait, and there were two guys trying to train a lioness. One was a professional trainer, and one was a Kuwaiti guy who apparently owned the lioness. And then we know that, and it was a pet, described as a pet lioness to the Kuwaiti man. So then the Kuwaiti man was mauled. The trainer went to the shop. We don't know what shop, and we don't know why he went to the shop. And while he was gone, the lioness attacked the Kuwaiti man and killed the Kuwaiti man. And then we don't know the names of either of the men, but we know that the Kuwaiti man was attacked and that he had injuries to his neck and to his thighs, and we know that he died. And we know that the main trainer, when he returned from the shop, saw what had happened, and he called for help. And then what did he do? He killed the lioness. So what's the most important part? What are you going to begin with? What's your first sentence or your lead to this? And if you write no more than one sentence, it's okay, but I wouldn't blame you for writing 2 sentences to this story to get your lead going. And that's all I want you to do. Write 1, at most 2 sentences to show me how you would lead into this particular story about the Kuwaiti man who was killed by the lioness in the border town. Okay, have fun with that. Take some time, think about it, have fun with that. Now you're going to email it to me, hayes.j@gust.edu.kw. You're going to email this to me, and you will email it to me, either I'm going to give you the deadline myself, or I'm going to give you the deadline through someone else who would tell you what the deadline to this story is. More to come.